Welcome in, everybody. This is the Binge Empire podcast where we discuss some of our favorite fantasy and sci-fi TV shows. I am your host, Dave, joined by my fellow Binge Empire member, Paul. And today we are continuing our coverage of Netflix's original TV show, The Sandman, specifically with episodes 5 and 6. If you think this is the end of The Sandman, do not worry. We're here to remind you that this is only part 1 of the season. Of season 2, I guess you want to say. So we will have 6 more episodes releasing on July 24th. So be sure to subscribe so you can hear our instant reaction to those episodes once they debut. But coming back into the episodes in 5 and 6 discussion, overall, I have to say that these episodes were absolutely incredible, especially episode 6. I was not expecting to shed tears in this series, but boy, was I a mess by midway through episode 6. I would arguably say episode 6 was one of the best Sandman episodes to date, including one from this season that I really loved was the Dream versus Lucifer confrontation. Of course, we have the OG Hob episode in season 1, but this one, these two in particular, I love the story of Orpheus. It was incredibly well done. The actor who played Orpheus, unfortunately, I didn't catch his name. But wow, what a performance. What a ride these 2 episodes were. Definitely a great way to end part 1 of this 2-part season that they're kind of giving us. I was on Twitter and I was unfortunately reminded that Sandman is technically canceled. Like we're not getting a season 3. And it's just so unfortunate because they've done such a great job developing this world, especially in this season. And man, I've been loving this season, and I can't wait for 6 more episodes, but I also just don't want it to end in 6 more episodes. Hopefully they wrap everything up nicely with a little bow on top. But man, reflecting on these episodes, they were great. These were all-time Sandman episodes. I'm going to hand it over to Paul for his quick reactions before we break down the actual episode.
Ruari O'Connor, I believe the actor's name is, who played Orpheus. I had to look it up right now just because he made me feel, man. I got so emotional, and I'm so happy that we were able to cover episode 5 and episode 6 together, because this really does feel like one big Orpheus story. The song of Orpheus, the tragedy of Orpheus is something that I'm going to walk away with. I'm going to gush throughout this entire recording. So I say we jump right on in, dive on in. And we're going to start right where we left off at the end of episode 4. It is Dream looking at Wanda's dead body in the wreckage. Only mention this because she will come up later on, and obviously it is showing that Dream is deeply upset and deeply hurt by her death. But he goes to his realm. He talks to Lucien. He's saying, I don't really have a plan to find destruction. I was just kind of going along with this to be in the mortal realm. But I am curious about why some people are trying to stop us from finding him. So let's get on that. So he directs Lucien to try to figure out who is trying to stop them. And Lucien also just brings up that she liked destruction a lot from the few times that she met him, and she pushes for Dream to speak to him and figure out why he left.
And providing that closure to Dream seems to be an important subject for him. It seems like he's buried that down for a while. He didn't, for these 2 episodes in particular, or maybe even in the past 2, didn't really show too much enthusiasm to pursue his brother destruction. But I think it is something that he really needed to hear, especially going ahead and kind of when we get to episode 6, their discussion as a whole. It's definitely needed closure for Dream, but he's not aware of it really at this moment still.
Yeah. He's grown, but he still doesn't realize everything that he's experiencing and know how to handle it. So, but Morpheus does remember a time where destruction tried to warn him about something, about maybe why he left, and we do get a flashback. We get to 1675 London, England, and they just look like dapper gentlemen. They walk up to each other. Sir, that'll come in handy later. And they're trying to figure out like, hey, Destruction, why'd you call me here? And we see experiments on animals, orangutan with a chest cut open and like its organs out. And Dream's like, what is this? Destruction goes on to explain that one member of the Royal Society has prismed the rays of the sun into beams of discrete color, aka Isaac Newton is getting busy with his groundbreaking discoveries. And Destruction saying, I've seen this before. Certain ideas become inevitable. And then he starts going into the atomus, that which can be uncuttable, that will find a way to cut it. That is how they will destroy themselves. And Dream's like, okay, like I get it, but why are you telling me this? Like, have you said you've been through this before? It will not affect my realm. It barely affects your realm. And Destruction just sounds like he's in pain. And he goes into this little monologue where he's quoting Isaac Newton, where he says, "Are not light and gross bodies interconvertible? Alas, they are. And from that comes a release of energies that will melt the flesh from their bone and topple cities and blot out the sun. Then comes my time, brother, the age of fire and flame." So Destruction can see the future a little bit. I mean, he can't actually see the future, but he knows what's coming. And he hates when he has to do his job, it feels like.
Yeah, a lot of people in this show, it seems like, hate to do their job, but I don't really blame them. This was a great and another added layer of what we already had seen with the Destruction in the last episode. We saw him, painting, and he was this very mellow guy. So it's great to get these added layers as we approach that inevitable meetup between him and Dream. There's not really, even in the next episode as well, this is pretty much the core of why Destruction leaves. And it's in this conversation that he's talking about like what you said, Paul, that the humans are inevitably going to destroy himself. I love the reference to the atoms and the splitting of atoms and how that will eventually lead to, destruction and the bombs, whatever. I love that reference to the real world. It just adds that, level of reality in this show, even though it is very whimsical at times, it feels like it still shows that it syncs up very similarly to our timeline itself. But Destruction, yeah, just another character here that, you would assume by name alone, kind of like Lucifer and, aka Morningstar, that they're probably going to be this not so great character. They might be evil, with the name Destruction. You don't think of pleasant thoughts, so you wouldn't associate this character as a pleasant guy, but truly he is an entity that really does not enjoy his job of being a part of Destruction. And it's very clear here that I don't know if there's, how much like different timelines play into this, but obviously he has seen variations of these events that have played out the exact same way. So just really cool that they added all that into this, couple minute backstory. And this scene alone will definitely carry us into the next episode as well, and Destruction's thoughts.
And they do such a good job of writing the story that plays off the history that we as viewers know of, because they don't really go into Isaac Newton at all, but we know how Isaac Newton has changed the future completely and the world and how it was groundbreaking. So it's so good that they can tell a story and just kind of have that as an add-on, but they don't need to waste time explaining it. It's so fun. And like what you're saying, it's crazy to see a guy named Destruction, this is his job, be emotional about it. But that is kind of the theme that we get. Sometimes you have duties that you don't like to fulfill. And, he went on to say, Destruction, that is, said, to be the one responsible for destruction and having the shame of that, like he doesn't want that at all. Unfortunately, that's why it was created, I think. But he hates it, and Dream's like, hey, there's no shame in fulfilling one's duties. And Destruction's response is, there is shame if you destroy the ones you love along the way. So
yeah, Dream just can't physically process what Destruction in his realm have to go through on a day-to-day basis versus what Dream does. Like Dream deals with entities that aren't necessarily real. I mean, yes, they become conjured in his realm and they're what you would consider real in his world, but they don't necessarily have a direct impact on the waking realm. And however, destruction is like destruction can cause that level of, you know, or at least recognize that level of destruction and chaos within humans. So it's not, this is a just a way more intense what like entity that's experienced all this pain on a different level than Dream has through just what humans dream about on the regular, you know.
Mm-hmm. And I think it we see a lot of it towards the end of episode 6 where Destruction's like, you've grown so much, Dream, and you have no idea. So it's great. We'll get to that. But back in the mortal realm, we see Dream at Wanda's funeral. He's obviously unhappy about what they did to the body, and he expresses that when Wanda's aunt comes up. But Wanda's aunt, this is, I forget her name. I want to say Aunt Polly, but that could be so wrong.
That is
Uh,
definitely from
Peaky Blinders.
yeah, Peaky Blinders.
Well, anyway, she has the Marvelous Land of Oz, which is, her book, the book Wanda was speaking of. And she tries to explain that this funeral is, for the rest of the family. So, like, it's confusing because I understood it and completely disagreed with it at the same time. But at the end of the day, Dream is there to try to make things right because Dream does blame himself.
Yeah, I think the family was trying to protect their image of Wanda in their mind, which is why, you know, they dressed Wanda up in the suit and engraved her birth name onto the tombstone. I think they were trying to more so save the image they had of Wanda in their head versus who she actually was as a person, and that's why Dream was so pissed off, is because they weren't they were being selfish in a sense. Like they were coming to terms with all this, but in their own way, without recognizing that Wanda herself had become this individual, unique person that they weren't used to, and that's why he went as far as to change the tombstone, which was a really nice gesture. It was nice of him to even show up because he's an endless. You know, these are mortals. He didn't have to be here in the past. I'm sure he would have just completely glossed over this, but this alone also shows how much Dream has changed over these seasons. The fact that he does feel these emotions of empathy and regret and anger even, and it shows this is also going into what his brother Destruction talks about in his growth, that he can feel these emotions.
Mm-hmm. And as much as the aunt is trying to say maybe you should stay in the back, she does ask and say, was Wanda happy? Which Dream replies with, she was entirely herself at all times, which is a really cool thing to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, we see Morpheus change the gravestone. Death arrives and they have a little bit of a discussion. Of course, Dream's like, hey, Death, can you bring her back? And Death is like, hey, they're not mine anymore, come on. But they have a good discussion about Delirium because Delirium's sigil has gone dark, and Death is like, well, are you surprised? You kind of used her. Everybody knows that you used her, and we're not like nagging on you. We're just saying, hey, go to her realm, talk to her, be her big brother.
Mm-hmm.
The way she opens the portal to Delirium's realm
I
is
knew you were going to
so
comment on it.
it's so cool, man. I already talked about last episode when Delirium, leaves last
Yeah.
second. It's just a shatter. It seems like a mirror just shatters out of nowhere. This was so good. She just picks up a random stone, tosses it. I was like, oh my God, it's awesome.
I knew you were going to love it. I loved it. It is one of the coolest ways to travel to the endless realms, is Delirium's way for sure.
Mhm. And got to bring up real quick, Death. She's like, oh, I can't go. I got something to do. She goes to see Wanda, has a discussion with her. I love how Wanda's like, I hated this place, but holy shit, Kansas is beautiful. And, she ends up saying her goodbye. So that was really beautiful. It was really good to see.
Really nice scene for sure.
Now, Dream in Delirium's realm. Dark, hazy, musty subway. Can only imagine what he was smelling in there. I was such a cool idea of, I don't know if this is how to get into Delirium's realm. Like, you have to go through that. I don't know if Delirium was purposefully putting him on that train to try to distract him. But either way, it feels like it is like a barrier. It is a source of protection from her realm. And it was a lot of fun to experience and go through real quick. I mean, each car had its own feel. The first one is just eyeless and mouthless men walking by him. Then it's a sexy BDSM rave. And all of a sudden, there's a figure resembling Nada, maybe to distract Dream. Who knows? But he doesn't stay long. He moves past because it's not her. And I absolutely loved our first glimpse into Delirium's home.
Yeah, for sure. It felt like something straight out of Mad Max with the characters, at least in the second car. I think it was more of protection. Like, I think she knew Dream was coming, and she still wasn't ready to quite see him. So this was her way to try and kick him out. Like, oh, I'm just going to throw a bunch of things that he might find weird at him. And then I think that like the cherry on top was Nada at the end. Like, okay, if this doesn't work, maybe then I'll see him, and clearly he is able to recognize it's not real. But this was, the music was hitting so hard here. I was definitely bopping my head to the song for sure. Delirium's great, man. I definitely have come to really enjoy Delirium's character.
Oh, man, she is one of my favorite characters in this whole show. And maybe it's recency bias because everybody is so unique, but oh my gosh, she's so entertaining. And the actress is amazing.
Crushing it for sure.
So train stops, he's able to get out, and it opens up into, this beautiful field with all these flowers and everything growing. And we find Delirium hiding underneath her quote unquote broken sundial. She's like, it just stopped. I'm like, how do sundials break? I don't even understand that.
That threw me. I was sitting there thinking, like, how does that even work? But
yeah, she's so funny. Mm-hmm. But this is actually Dream's apology. So talking about Dream growing up and maturing, he straight up says to her, I apologize. I deserve your hate. I broke your trust. And if any other sibling did this to me, I would never forgive them. So I'm not going to ask for your forgiveness. I just want to continue our journey together if that is amenable with you. And she just gets so happy, Well, at first she's actually like, Dream, do you like me? And he's like, well, you never fail to surprise me, and it distresses me to see you troubled. So I suppose I must, which is the most Dream answer of all time.
100%. It was a very nice scene, though. Absolutely. Dream was saying all the right things for once here, I believe. Especially, I loved how he compared it to if, I was in your shoes, I absolutely would not forgive the other person as well. So I think that was the cherry on top. I just always love seeing Dream just being like, friendly guy. Don't need him to be angry. Just sibling love is just the best. And these two have such a great on-screen connection. You can feel it even with their opposing personalities. It's so great.
Oh, even her last line here where she's like, well, I think I like you too when you're not being scary. And she like does a voice too. And she's like this ancient endless who knows so much, but at the same time, she's like this little toddler. Who's innocent and fragile. It's an amazing character. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to hurt anyone anymore, though. They're continuing their journey to find their brother, but they're not going to look for Attain because they don't want anybody else to die. So what do? They go see Destiny. And I love the line that Dream says where he goes, what he does not say is often more revealing than what he does, because Destiny can't say anything. So you got to use the context clues to figure out what he isn't saying, which brilliant. I thought that was so smart. Mm-hmm. And of course, Destiny is reading this in his book as we are watching it. He just kind of sees everything. Real quickly, going to jump over to Destruction. This is just kind of like a reintroduction to him. Just he's writing a poem called The Basilisk and the Cockatrice, and just going back and forth with Barnabas. Absolutely love their back and forth.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Love between the Endless and their animal companions. I think all of them just do such a great. They have such a wholesome relationship, all of them, and Destruction again, just coming off as this super nice guy, and it's not necessarily a front, but like we'll get into it with episode 6 discussions. But it was kind of a twist for me to learn what had happened, the events that had transpired in episode 6, based off how we had seen him these 2-3 scenes at this point.
Definitely, he's just like, it seems like Destruction is being this vulnerable person just trying to talk to Barnabas, and Barnabas is just like rubbishy doggerel, like just nonstop shit talking to him. But it's so funny, and we do get a little like quip here from Barnabas saying "in your dreams," and Destruction gets real serious, and he's like, "I don't dream." And then, of course, another Barnabas line. I don't see what you're so worried about. And Destruction's like, it's because you never met my family. Because once my family gets here, he knows shit's going to get crazy.
Yep.
So we got Dream and Delirium in Destiny's realm. Just such a cool interaction. Like, how do you talk to Destiny? Because Destiny's going to give you nothing, but Dream has figured out a way. And Destiny's like tiptoeing around it, saying like, forget this foolishness, go home. Destruction left. He told us to leave him be and respect his wishes. But Dream is like, hey, I made a promise. It may have been an empty promise when I made it, but now I intend to keep it. So I need to find him in order to make things right with my sister. So where is he? And Destiny doesn't give him an answer, but he does say, I'll tell you what Ishtar told you. You need an oracle to find one.
Not just any oracle, though. They need a specific one. And who else is the oracle other than Dream's son, Orpheus?
Dude, crazy. He's like, oh, have you forgotten? You let yourself forget. And the whole issue was, yeah, like he said, no oracle tells of the endless. No oracle can foresee their family. But, dude, you got an oracle in your family. Hell yeah. So, love that. Destiny, so cool. We don't get a whole bunch more of him. I love the line where he's like, if I answer you, a new pathway will appear in my garden. So it's safer for you not to ask. And like the garden hedge maze is so cool. Each realm is amazing, man. I love this world so much. But this is when the Song of Orpheus, aka the Tragedy of Orpheus, begins. This is the beginning of the flashback. Get Orpheus waking up. He has a premonition of on the beach or something going wrong. Eurydice, he sees her not breathing. It almost looks like she's dead. He wakes up. He sees Dream. It's like, Father, will you please explain this to me? And Dream is like, no, I won't, because that is the beauty of dreams. Are open for interpretation. You are my son. I'm not going to tell you your future. We also see Calliope in the background, which they never really say her name. It just says like Dream's wife. So it was interesting they were doing that, I guess, in case you didn't see the bonus episode of season 1. I'm not exactly sure, but that was fantastic. It's fantastic setup by having that bonus episode, having that emotional backstory already established, and then throwing us into the tragedy of their son together.
It's so nice having bonus content that actually ends up becoming relevant to the story. I mean, we were thinking at the end of episode 10 that was all the Sandman content we would get till season 2. We get a nice little one-shot episode, that really develops this new character that we're seeing here for the first time. Well, technically second time, but outside of the bonus content. And they just did a really good job of tying it all together. I think they introduced the bonus episode at a really good time, not too early in the story to give to still provide some, mystery to Dream's backstory while we're getting into the transition of season 1 to 2, but then also making her relevant for a purpose like this.
So we get to the wedding, and all of Dream's siblings are there. The whole family showed up. They all give their blessings in their own way. Despair comes up. Most marriages end in misery, just hysterical. Desire is like, I wish you both everything your heart desires. Delirium. I was almost married once. It was my fault. Anyway, good luck. Like, dude, just the best. Destruction, smiling gentleman. Go well, my children. Like, oh, God, love him. And of course, Destiny just stands there. I guess he knows what's coming, but he's like, I don't wish. I know. I am Destiny. What must happen will happen. That is the way of it. So, whole family's there. And I just love Dream. They show Dream with those little Ruby, too, like having all of his little possessions. So good.
Destiny is just a brick wall to talk to. There's just no point in even interacting with him because he just knows the purpose of all conversations. And if a conversation really doesn't have a purpose, then why pursue it further? Or if it's going to give up any information, then he's just not going to talk to you. So just not the most fun uncle at the wedding that you're going to have.
Yeah, seriously. Brick wall is such a good description. And so we get the wedding ceremony, we get the reception, everything is all happy. We learn Dream doesn't dance. Oh God, the conversation between Death and Morpheus right here. Dream's like, no, I don't dance. Did all the other siblings leave? Yeah. Why didn't you leave? Oh, I have things to do. We'll find out in a second what Death is. That
seems like everyone knew. All the Endless knew except for maybe like Delirium and Destruction, really. But everyone else there were signs for.
Yeah, of course, we get Eurydice talking to Orpheus. Sorry, I don't dance, but I do know a little place in the moonlight where we can run away to and be private. On the way, you see the serpent slithering by, and sooner rather than later, she gets bit and goes down. Death rolls up. So sorry, love. It's time. So my question to you now, and we may not even get an answer. Was the serpent sent by somebody to spark this chain reaction, or was it an accident?
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely was thinking the same thing. We all know it's the tale of Orpheus, and we knew that she was going to die, but in these scenes, though, it's so hard for it to feel like it's not another entity just messing with Dream, or at least Orpheus in some way. Like a snake on the beach in that exact moment. I had my thoughts, and maybe it just ties into Destiny. Like this was just destined to happen in his whole thing. But because this whole event is honestly, like, if this doesn't happen, Dream is never going to be able to find Destruction in the future. And so this was, if not the trigger event between all the Endless, the siblings at least. So I'll just chalk it up to not saying that Destiny physically, was behind it, but I just think it was Destiny knew it was going to happen, and it just had to happen because of the future of what's to come. So I don't think anyone was behind it, we'll say, but I did have that thought. Absolutely.
We probably won't ever hear of it again, but if, in the second half of this season, if we do get a line drop that some villain sent the serpent, I will not be crazy surprised. But like you said, could just have been destined to happen. So we're getting the aftermath of Eurydice's death. Orpheus is broken. He doesn't even go to the funeral. Dream tries to get him. They have a discussion on the beach. And Orpheus is like, I'm broken. I can't continue with my life. And Dream has a fantastic quote where he doesn't sugarcoat it. He says, there will be times when the fact of her absence overwhelms you and you will weep. But this will happen less and less, I promise. Foreshadowing, perchance, a little bit about Dream's future at the end of episode 6. I have no idea. I just thought putting it that way was such a beautiful line.
Yeah, and does he also? Is this also the scene here where he mentions that you're more in love with the idea of love, basically, than you are with her herself? Does he say that here?
That was Destruction. That says that in a little bit, but that's really the next scene.
Again, but again, it just feels like Dream projecting his issues with his past onto another person that is close to him. The old Dream did that a lot. It feels like the new Dream would never do such a thing. But here, again, it feels like the whole issue with Nada is still haunting him. And he's just, again, projecting that anger to his son. And it sucks. Dream was not a good being at this point in his life, I will say.
He's very cold. I don't know if it was on purpose or that's just how he thinks the world works. But yes, he's very... And yeah, like he doesn't help. Like Orpheus says, "Will you please go to Hades, the underworld, and ask Hades for her life back?" And Dream's like, "Dude, Hades is gonna ask for your life instead. I'm not gonna sacrifice my son." And this is where the rift kind of really begins, and they really separate from each other because Orpheus says, "If you will not do this for me, then I am no longer your son." And he leaves. He leaves to go jump off a cliff. He plans to commit suicide and be with Eurydice in the underworld, which, thank God, Destruction was there and says that is.
But also at the same time, maybe not so much. Thank God for,
It's true. Yeah. Is this because like
hypothetically, if he does end it there, then, I mean, granted, Dream would never have the closure that he has with his son that he got, but it's one of those things that I was reflecting back on. I was like, is this might not necessarily be a good thing that Destruction saves Orpheus here.
No, you're totally right, because this could be an instance of Destruction trying to help, and in the end he is destroying the family that he loves so much, and that is part of like why he hates it. So I don't know. That could have just been like mortal, like destroying mortal stuff. But I don't know. It feels like it here.
And I don't know if it's because of how many movies and TV shows we've seen with betrayal, but I also just had this like thought in the back of my head, like if Destruction is actually like not a good person, maybe it felt like, I don't know, if you've seen Wonder Woman with Ares, I was getting like that kind of vibe of, oh, maybe he was the one that put the snake there. Maybe he wanted Orpheus to go see Hades for whatever reason, and that's why he was so willing to just send him there. That's not the case, obviously, but I was having these thoughts for a second there, but I'm glad Destruction ended up being like just a genuinely good dude overall.
Mm-hmm. God, such a cool guy. Why do you have to run away? Talk about cool. Orpheus is like, hey, can you show me the way to our aunt's realm, or my aunt's realm? What does Destruction do? He blows up a cliff and basically like creates a wormhole of fire and an amazing path. And I could watch them open up entryways to other realms all day. Like that could be
absolutely,
that could be the show by itself.
Even their teleporting abilities are just so cool, the way they exit.
God, even the fairy coming, episode 2, 3, I don't know, I can't remember anymore, but like coming through the hill, the doorway opening, the stone shattering to get into the Delirium's realm. I'm obsessed with it. It's so good. Destruction has a final line where Orpheus is like, oh, I hope she'll see me, and Destruction says, of course she'll see you. Sooner or later she sees everyone. And let us continue to Death's crib. So cool. It looks like an amazing apartment. And I love how Orpheus is like, this is also strange to my eyes, at least. And he's like fascinated with the vinyl. But
that was a great line too, because it's kind of going into what we've been talking about too, with how Sandman has portrayed certain characters and how they've had these like very unique and specific takes on all these characters. And this was like, felt like a call out to the audience. Like Orpheus is, I'm assuming, since he's going to Death's realm, is expecting to see a lot of death and maybe not this super nice like house mansion, and again just conflicts so much with what you're expecting to see with these characters and what you expect to and how you expect to interact with them, but they're just so different than what their names and personalities, sometimes project. It's awesome, and Orpheus definitely gets a glimpse of that here.
Yeah, like who would have ever thought Death has a pet goldfish? Like,
Right. Did it
so
talk actually? I don't think it talked, right? It
no,
should have.
it
It should have.
should have. I'm sure it can, and it just didn't want to show it to Orpheus.
Yeah, maybe it's shy. Maybe it's shy.
But this is Orpheus saying, "Hey, can you please bring her back to me?" Death is like, "She's not mine anymore. She's in the underworld, and you can't go to the underworld without dying first." And Orpheus is like, "Oh, what are you talking about? All these legends did." And she was like, "All those legends are full of shit. They just got drunk and passed out and woke up on a field somewhere." So, but eventually she says, maybe I can do something. Maybe I can take your death away. But at that point, you will never die. So are you sure that this is what you want? I know it sounds good, but are you sure? And she just touches his face and she's like, "You got it. I hope it works out for you." And I just, so she didn't want to do it. But then again, Orpheus was like being shunned almost by the rest of the family. They wouldn't help Orpheus out, and she didn't know what to do. She says, "I hope it works out for you." And she has a cool line where she's like, "I hope it works out for you." With Orpheus responds with, "Oh, you don't know if it does or not?" And she's like, he says, "I thought you knew. I thought you could foretell the future." And she gets all serious all of a sudden. She's like, "I don't need to know the future. I am the future for everything and everyone except you now." So it's just,
Yeah.
oh God, it's such a good line. She grabs a key and opens up the way to the underworld.
And I'm thinking about it now. I mean, just immediately Orpheus is just getting more. Attention's not the right word, but here death and destruction are both like obviously going out of their way to help Orpheus get what he wants here, where Dream did not at all. They are warning him. Each one of them has warned him about the endeavors he's about to go on, but they do understand that this is, I guess, what his heart wants the most in this moment, and whether it's a good thing or bad thing, they obviously didn't know. They wanted it to be a good thing, but they did warn him, whereas Dream just kind of shuts him down. So I mean, each one of the Endless is a little bit responsible in their own way, but definitely Dream more so than the others. But this definitely does also emphasize that yes, the other, like Dream, was not. He was very cold to his son at the end of the day.
Mm. Speaking of cold, in the underworld, Orpheus is wandering through this treacherous path, and he's looking at all these souls that look lost and are just look hurting. And he stumbles upon, the kindly ones, aka the Gray Sisters, and they're trying to say, "You're trespassing," and he's like, "No, no, I'm not. I just came here, and you're kindly to me because you serve Hades and Queen P, and that's who I'm here to see, buddies." And next thing you know, Hades and Persephone appear, and he sings this song when Persephone asks, and holy shit, this is, I'm not exaggerating. I think it's the most beautiful song I've ever heard in my life. I
It was
don't.
up there. It was hitting everything in my like spine when he was singing. It was just the nodes were just matching my energy perfectly. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he actually sung this. I don't know how good of a singer this guy really is, but I'm totally with you. This song just was perfect for this situation. The
Mhm.
tone, how the lights of the underworld, like the lights of the undead, will say, were kind of just rising out of the ground from his voice, and the adaptations of Hades and Persephone were awesome to see too, and how they are so closely tied with the three sisters too. Of course, it's just everything about this scene to me was like a 10 out of 10. I mean, this was an amazing all around scene, from characters, the song itself. I was in love with this song easily.
It was moving, to say the least. And I'm sure that it being in Greek had more to do with that. And if it was in English, maybe it wouldn't have been, it hit the same.
Yeah, I think so.
But just, I guess because you know his story, and his story is so sad, but the song is so beautiful that I don't know. I'm feeling.
They did it justice because the song is supposed to obviously enchant Hades and Persephone to the point that they agree to do this lucrative deal that they would never normally do. And I think and that is, the big part of Orpheus is that he visits the underworld and he sings to Persephone and Hades. And it's always a matter of, this song obviously means a lot in cultural terms, just the representation of it. So they really had to nail it. And I don't think they could have done a better job in any form. Everything was popping off here. And the facial acting of Persephone, who you could see getting touched, the sisters also were all crying. It just, and it's all off the dome too. He was freestyling that. I mean, it was literally the events of what just happened not even a couple hours ago, I'm assuming, or whatever, how long time had passed. And
it felt like
he wasn't ready
before
to sing. He wasn't ready to sing, and he just drops this banger of a song. So
it's, oh God, it was so perfect. Disrupting the spirits, and Hades not happy about it. And I just have like getting goosebumps writing this in my notes. Like, oh my God, I'm tearing up in my notes right now because it was just so good. And he has one of the final lines, a few lines of the song is, "Love has brought me here to you to ask what no sane man would dare, and beg you to her soul restore, so she may leave and we may share a lifetime or an hour more." It was like, holy shit, this is amazing. It was such a good way of showing his love and telling the story. All right, we gushed about it enough. It was fucking amazing. All right.
We could definitely gush about that for hours upon hours. Like that, this is going to be another scene for me, just like the Hobbs scene. This will forever be resonated in my mind with Sandman. This in episode 6 of last season.
Definitely. And it was looking good for a second, but Persephone hits him with a deal, and there's always rules to deals. So it is in this instance that Orpheus may leave, and the wife, Eurydice,
Eurydice, I think, yeah.
Eurydice will leave with him, but she will be his shadow, and Orpheus may not seek nor speak nor turn to look behind him until the sun shines on you both. Then and only then will she truly be yours. So close, walking. He sees the light. He hears somebody behind him. He can't help but turn and catches a glimpse of her before she is dragged back down to the underworld.
And I also really loved that when they were in the process of making the deal, Persephone and Orpheus, I really liked that they didn't show us her being behind him for the audience member. Like if you were unfamiliar with the story of Orpheus and you're, listening to the details of this deal unfold, the whole reason he turns around is because he doesn't know that he is just assuming that they're lying. He doesn't know how true it is that she is going to be right behind him. He wants this concrete evidence that she is behind him. And he can't even wait to get outside into the light of the cave, or outside from the light or into the light. And they could have easily shown us like her being behind him the whole time and trailing, but it just adds that level of suspense, especially again to those who haven't heard of the tale of Orpheus. It's like, was Persephone telling the truth? We don't know if she is there the whole time. He's just walking all by himself to the point of almost breaking through the cave when he does turn around, and we do see that they were not lying, when in fact, if he had just stuck it out for the next, couple 100 feet, he would have had her. And he just didn't trust her. He obviously felt the tension that they were projecting onto him, of him of them wanting him to leave and not being there any longer. And it's like, oh, it's so easy, you could have just looked, but it's like he had no idea. He really had no idea, and it's such a tragic tale, but really well depicted from the show. And it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It was such a good idea to show her right when Orpheus turns around, only to get a glimpse and then have her sucked back into the shadows, and he's screaming in emotional pain, and it was heartbreaking. And at the same time, you're like, you idiot, you had it right there. But at the same time, it's like, I understand, man. The love of your life is right behind you, and it's almost a reflex. So,
And you don't know, like, also either if could have been just like a zombie of her. It's like they didn't promise, her whole soul and exactly how she was going to be. You have all these questions in the back of your mind when striking deals with gods, and you don't know if they're trying to just weasel their way out of it or if they are true to their word. Here they were, and poor Orpheus.
No, heartbreaking. And he doesn't know what to do. So what does he try to do? He tries to die again. He is talking to his mother, which, she says she left Dream. She thought Dream could change, but he can't, which he does eventually. Just, takes him to be captured in order to do it. And she's telling Orpheus, hey, the Sisters of Frenzy are coming. You got to get out of here. And he's like, yo, that's why I'm here. I want to die. She says, you got to leave. The Sisters of Frenzy are coming. And he's like, that is why I'm here. I want to die. I can't live without her. And his mother is trying to pull him away, saying, you can't do this. But Orpheus's response is, you just left father because he refused to help me. Now you're doing the same. So she's like, what do I do? Right? Like, I don't know what
Hypocrite.
to do. Yeah. So she's like, I guess I have to let you go do this. And it was painful. It was painful. And Orpheus's line of, if you won't let me do this, you will only increase my suffering, was just, enough for her to just cry.
Mother don't wants to hear that. They don't want to hear their child saying that. Yeah.
Oh my God, terrible. So in the forest, it is night. The sisters come, smooch on his decapitated head a little bit, but it was horrific seeing them just tear the flesh from him.
I, for some reason, thought it was going to work. I don't know why. I was like, he probably knows some glitch that these harpies might have some magic powers that can actually kill him. Nope.
Yeah. I wonder if they would have killed him if they actually destroyed his head. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just the actual power of a god. Like if they had done what Dream had exactly done to his head, would he just have a hole in his head and he'd still be alive? Or does he just need that touch from the endless? I don't know.
No, that's a great point. Maybe his head would just be mush, but he's still alive at that point.
Kind of like Hidan in Naruto, who's just living at the bottom of a hole.
Yeah, just chopped up. So Orpheus's head is washed ashore, and Dream finds him. Heartbreaking as hell. Dream says, I've come here to tell you that I visited with priests on this island in their dreams, and they will find you and they will care for you. I will not see you again. And Orpheus is like, Father, please kill me. And Dream is like, Father, did you not say that you were no longer my son? And it is just so pain. Dream looks like he's in pain. Orpheus is saying, help me to die. But that he also says the endless are forbidden from spilling family blood. You have made your choice. Just as your life is your own, so is your death. Farewell, my son. We shall not meet again. And the whole time Orpheus is yelling, Father, come back. Please kill me. And it is heart-wrenching to hear that and watch Dream walk away.
Yeah, I think at first I was kind of led to believe that Dream was walking away to teach his son a lesson. But the more I kind of think about it, it was probably a combination of that, but as well as you don't want to kill your son. Nobody wants to do that. So I think it was at first when I was watching, I think I was thinking it was mostly just, I'm here to, this is your lesson. You need to learn this lesson. But at the same time, I don't think he wanted to do that to his son at that moment either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, heartbreaking stuff. I mean, what was it, 300 years of just living as a head? That's just crazy. I mean,
Yeah, it
so
might have been more. Might have been more, honestly.
yeah, it's close. It was definitely between 300 and 400 years. And I feel for Dream here, but these are the small events that unfortunately had to happen in order to make him the person that he is today. So
Mm.
sucks, but very well done backstory for Orpheus, the son of Dream, that we have. This was our first time getting introduced to.
Oh, it was an incredible tale. But we got one last little scene here, and it is back in Destiny's realm. Dream just looks like he's in so much pain remembering this whole thing. And we got a freaking crazy info drop right here, which I wasn't expecting at all. But Delirium looks at Destiny and says, "Do you know why I stopped being Delight?" "I do. You see, there are things not in your book and paths outside this garden. You would do well to remember that." So Delirium was Delight. Did we know that before? I don't think so.
No, I was jaw on the floor. I was like, "What the fuck?" And then this is where immediately my head went to. I can't believe we're not getting a third season. It's just how they've dropped so many like lore eggs. It feels like throughout both of these seasons that they could have easily, obviously, had content and material ready for season 3. And this feels like one of those things that it's like, I don't know if her past as Delight has any impact on the events that will come forward. It could, because I'll save that conversation for episode 6. But I hope we get that backstory, but I'm not optimistic about it, unfortunately.
I thought, like exactly like you said, such a good and crazy lore drop, history lesson. How does this world work? Not even Destiny knows.
Yeah,
It's
like I didn't even know an Endless could do that.
yeah.
Like you could just like, why did can destruction become Delay? Like, could he have just like, if no one's taken that Delight mantle, like, can he do it? That clearly seems like it would be a better fit for him than destruction. Jeez.
I'm hoping and I believe that we will get an answer in the second half of the season here, but that
I'm
could be.
hoping.
Yeah.
We have 6 episodes. I guess I'll just kind of briefly talk about it now. If I think where we're going with the next 6 episodes is Dream facing the consequences of him killing Orpheus. Obviously, we talked about it here that, an Endless can't just kill a family member, but he does end up doing it. And so if that's the case, there is a way for, the family theme and Endless theme to still be brought in with Delirium and her past as Delight. I really hope we get it. I'll just say that. I really hope we get it.
Yeah. So the very end of this episode is just Delirium being a nice sister. Both eyes are the same color. She doesn't like doing it, and as she puts it, it hurts very muchly. But she's doing it for her brother, and I don't know what it did. It seems like she had her wits about her at least, and was able to kind of control herself. But Dream's like, "Hey, don't be in pain for me," and basically Dream just says farewell to Destiny, and Destiny responds, and it almost felt like Destiny was saying goodbye. I don't want to say for good, but like the way Destiny was like, "Farewell, my brother," it was just like, does Destiny know something that we don't? The answer is yes, he always does. But I don't know, it felt different. And Delirium's like, "Where are we going?" "Oh, we have to go seek an oracle to tell us where our brother is in return for a boon." "Who is it?" "He's my son." Crazy. Jumping right over episode 6, Family Blood. Starts out in 1794, England. A familiar face kind of pops up. It is a woman journaling, saying she needs to write her own truth before she lets others who want to burn her write her truth. And all of a sudden, Dream pops up. And who else are we looking at besides Lady Johanna Constantine? They met 5 years ago. She thought he was a demon. Normal stuff in the late 1700s. But Dream needs her to do something for him because something of his has been stolen and he can't involve himself. And he says, I will give you what is ever in my power to give you. Next scene, Paris, France. She has the object, pulls it out, and what is it? Orpheus's head. She gets away from the two guards, but not before acting like a mad woman, spitting in Orpheus's face a little bit. And we get a guard cutting off the earring, which amazing storytelling because it's not even part of the story, but it comes back a little bit. So I don't know, but I love seeing Lady Constantine just acting crazy, saying this is the head of the man who defiled my sister, and my mother will spit on his face like this every night.
And she's like very hesitant about it. I love Joanna Constantine. That'll be one of my probably favorite characters of the show that I've really enjoyed. And I think it's a little biased because I recently just wrapped up watching the DC animated movie universe, and it's cool kind of now having all this DC knowledge in my head and seeing kind of the influence or at least ties to the DC world, because this obviously is a DC comic. And one of the big characters in the DC AMU is John Constantine. And it's just cool to see this character as herself, because John Constantine is kind of like a cynical asshole, but he's very realistic, but he's super strong. So I really like Joanna Constantine because she is also very strong. I wouldn't say she's very cynical. She's very arrogant, I will say, and she believes in herself. And she's very confident in herself. So I love that about her, but I just love seeing these, like, the ties between the DC verse, because it's not maybe directly a part of, all the events of like the Justice League and everything, but there are, similar backstories here we have.
Yeah, definitely. She is such a delight to have on screen. And, obviously the same actress from season 1, that descendant of Lady Johanna Constantine. So just, God, it makes the rewatch even better too. Just so good at telling stories here. And so Orpheus, the head, and her are talking, and they're like, "Oh, great, great little acting, great display there. Sorry for spitting in your face." And she also says sorry for the earring, and he explains that it will find its way back to him most likely at the expense of misery. The ear won't grow back, but the ring will find its way back to him. Which in the later scenes, it is there next above the chunk out of his ear. And all I could think about is they could make a fucking whole episode about just the
Just the ring.
traveling of the
Yeah.
earring. Yeah,
Yeah.
because obviously the guard, I'm sure it was, misery driven death that led to somebody else getting it, that led to somebody else getting it. Somehow it comes to the island that it's, oh God. I don't know if they meant to inspire me by putting that earring stuff in there, but they did.
It did. No, it hit. It absolutely hit. And I honestly was feeling some vibes here between Joanna and Orpheus. I thought there was going to be a little rebound action coming, but Orpheus obviously being just ahead really wouldn't be I guess, the best husband. But I was feeling something here. I thought I was definitely feeling like that she was going to fall in love with him or something.
They were definitely bonding. They were bonding a lot, and they kind of bring up this person, Robespierre, that is the individual that they're trying to hide from. He is killing everybody in France right now, pretty much. And like you said, Orpheus and Lady Constantine really are bonding here. She seems to really enjoy being in his presence, and he is saying like, "Hey, who sent you here? Was it my father?" And she doesn't respond, but of course Orpheus knows that it is, and he's like, "How is he? Did he seem all right?" It's like Orpheus is still thinking of his dad after everything. It's such a cool character.
Yeah, the you could see the twinkle in his eye, like the light in his eye when he kind of figured out it was his father, and when he asked about it, or when he asked about Dream, that it felt like at that point he had already kind of made peace with his demons, and we just needed Dream to kind of make peace with his, because he did seem genuine when asking about Dream, and he felt happy to know that he was doing well, or at least didn't receive a response that was negative, and that made him, at least to me, appear happy.
Mm-hmm. And even Constantine like has a line just in a scene or two here, because what happens is Robespierre shows up, captures her, knows who she is, under her fake disguise or name or anything like that. She gets put in a dungeon, but before that, she hid Orpheus's head. So obviously, Robespierre can't find it anywhere. And in the dungeon, she has a dream and talks to Dream, and they're having a little bit back and forth here. What am I saying here? Okay, so Dream is like, dude, I can't get involved. I can't get directly involved. And Constantine's like, I'm going to lose my head here. You got to do something. But in the middle of all this, of course, Dream is like, oh, how is he? And she's like, oh, it's funny. He asked the same about you. Dream gets so upset. And you said nothing. She's like, I didn't answer. Don't worry. So, but, and then they start talking about Orpheus. And even in his current state, he is more alive than anyone that I have ever met. He jokes at his own expense. He asks questions. And more importantly, he listens to the responses. This is, it feels like Lady Joanna really, really does start to feel love for Orpheus. And Dream says, did he sing for you? No. Is he able to sing in the place that you've hidden him? This will be the solution, because the next morning, Robespierre comes out all cocky. Oh, it came to me in a dream. I'm a genius. Where do you hide a book in a library? Where do you hide a head amongst other severed heads? And they go. Lady Constantine pulls out his head, has Orpheus sing, and it is so beautiful. It is a song about freedom and liberty, and it is so powerful that even the dead joined in to sing. And she believes the whole of France heard it, because the next day Robespierre met the guillotine. And God, I love Orpheus.
I'm so glad we got part 2 into a song, because it would not have felt right to just have us listen to just one song by Orpheus. It was great that we got a part 2. And again, to make the connection of when he sang the first song to Persephone, and you could see the souls of the dead kind of rising up, and here in the waking realm, it obviously had a huge impact on the dead that was around him, and his voice is just so good. I mean, I was enchanted like Robespierre, just sitting there, no thoughts. I mean, it was so good. I'm glad we got a second one. Of course, I wish it was as long as the first one. This one was a little bit quicker, but would have also loved to see some lyrics from this song as well. But can't be too greedy. Get 2 performances was more than needed.
Yes, totally agree. It left its impact for sure. So, Lady Constantine brings him back to his temple, hidden from the world under clouds, and he's asking, do you think my father will visit? He must miss me and love me, because he sent you to care for me. He is so positive and optimistic for being just ahead. Exactly what Constantine was saying. He's probably good to be around, because he makes you feel better about yourself.
Oh yeah, Orpheus is definitely one of those guys that just his positivity would just rub off on anybody, kind of like Luffy's. Luffy's aura does the same thing.
So he's saying, I wish there was something I could give you to thank you properly. And she responds with, oh, I travel widely. Perhaps in a few years I can return and see you again. Which he responds with, I do not think that would be a good idea. And
shuts down any of my ideas of them being a thing, which does also make sense. Like, I don't know if the rules of the Endless, apply to him, and she's immortal, so and obviously he is, at the end of the day, just ahead. So, but yeah, I was a little upset that they couldn't make it work, but so be it.
And a little line here too, where he says to Joanna, when you see my father, will you tell him I love him? I haven't seen him in ages, not even in my dreams. Just another little heartbreak right there. And she brings him back to the priests, and Orpheus's song is playing in the background, and it's beautiful, and it gives me goosebumps every time.
Now that you mentioned that line again of how Orpheus doesn't see him in his dreams, it's just like so messed up because, we heard Destruction earlier mention that he doesn't dream, but that's like he does it in a way to block Dream from finding him.
Mm-hmm.
Where in this situation, Orpheus does dream, and it almost seems like it's in search for his father, or at least in a way that he would want to talk to him, but Dream doesn't acknowledge him, and it's like kind of the opposite there. But granted, there was 100-year period where Roderick Burgess kidnapped him, so he really couldn't talk to his son. But it's just it's sad, man. It's just so sad.
I totally agree. That's such a good point. The fact that they didn't need to put it in the Destruction line of I don't dream, but they did, and it makes this scene hit that much harder.
Because he was dreaming, and it's like a way for his father to reach out. He may not, want to see him, but the option of communication is always there because he's always dreaming. And it's so sad that Dream never really kind of met him until this moment when he almost needed to see him.
Yeah, and just to go into the forbidden love, maybe just camaraderie, friendship. But either way, Dream and Johanna are talking again. He's saying thank you. What is it that you want? And her response is perhaps a bit more time with Orpheus. So is that out of love, or is that out of just like his charm to be around him? I don't know. But next thing we see is Orpheus's temple and Lady Constantine's gravestone right outside of it. So in the end, she did come back. How much time she spent there, I'm not sure. We could get a whole episode of that, I'm sure, too. And it's a good end spot for her story right there.
Definitely. Absolutely. Great character. Again, one of my favorites. Orpheus also just probably climbed the ranks up there as well. He's Hob, Orpheus, Johanna. For me, that feels like a solid trifecta of characters that I really like. But then I'm forgetting about Desire, Delirium. Like there's just so many great characters in here that it's hard to pick. It really is.
Maybe at the end of the season, we'll have an episode of us just trying to make a list collectively of the best
try
characters.
Our best. Yeah.
So Delirium and Dream, they are at the same spot right next to her gravestone, and she's talking about ice cream flavors, weird ice cream flavors, and somehow links it to, sometimes I get things wrong just like this. I don't want you to have to go in there and spill family blood and kill your son. But Morpheus is like, hey, I'm here. They get stopped, but right away Dream is like, I'm here to see my son. Okay. Goes in. This is the reunion. Oh my God. Orpheus's eyes slowly open, followed by a slow smile. And you look just like yourself, father. And oh my God, immediately Dream's like crying. He's like, I'm so sorry. And no, it is I who am sorry. You were trying to protect me. I abandoned you. You never abandoned me. You sent all those people to look after me and protect me. You're here with me now. I'm not worthy of you, my son. Many things have happened since I last saw you. Where to begin? Why not the beginning? I have nowhere to go. And just a little smile from Dream. Oh, God.
This was not on my 2025 bucket list to expect to be crying from the Sandman. I was like, I visibly was kind of just like shaking and just, I could feel the water building in my eyes on their reunion. I texted Paul. I was like, this is hurting me to watch. And it's the line when you said it, when Dream says, I'm not worthy of you, son. I'm like, oh my God, this is killing me physically in every way. And even Orpheus's actor, I mean, the facial expression of just like, it's like confusion. You can see the regret on his face. You can see the happiness as well. Like so many emotions you could see on that actor's face in just this one scene. And I like had to pause for a second. I was like, I'm not ready to cry. So I like took a pause, checked the phone, just get me out of this feeling because I was just not ready to feel this. And we had only got introduced to Orpheus. It was last episode. And usually I feel like, big strong man, it takes a deep developed backstory to really get to me. But no, this was a 2 episode backstory that just crushed me. And this reunion was so well acted by both parties, by both Orpheus and Dream. This scene was arguably one of my favorites of the whole show for sure.
The storytelling should be studied because the way they're able to impact us is from 2 episodes is crazy. Like the tragedy of Orpheus or the Song of Orpheus could be its own movie and it would just be beautiful. And
I saw a tweet like the other day. It's like, you're 30 when you can just like look at a picture and cry, and it's just like I'm at that point in my life where I just can like watch something and I just get tearful, and I just never was like that as a kid, but now it's like I'll cry to anything, really.
welcome to the club, sir. I cry over everything.
Yeah.
So we get Dream placing a flower on Johanna's grave, and we also see that Delirium gave the other guys ice cream, so she also places an ice cream cone on her grave. But Dream's like, hey, I know where our brother is. I owe Orpheus a boon. We'll come back. But first, let's go see him. Is it a long way to our brother? No, it's not that far. It's literally the next island over, and the priest literally comes to turn Orpheus's head. And in my eyes, it was so he could like look at the island and almost see the interaction between Dream and Destruction. I don't think he actually does because he asked, Dream, how's my uncle and all this other stuff. But
I think it's like metaphorical. You're right. Like he wanted to see his father reuniting with Destruction. Almost, it felt like.
And who greets them but Barnabas? And
right?
Delirium and Barnabas. Hello, doggy. You are a very lovely doggy, aren't you? She's just the best.
Yeah, they're going to be a great duo going forward. And this was another great emotional scene. I mean, you see Destruction chopping wood, of course. The sun is just perfectly beaming on his muscles, and I'm thinking, are we going to see Henry Cavill's Wolverine? Like from the
Yeah.
Deadpool movie. But no, this was really great, and you could see that Destruction was genuinely happy to see them, but Dream visibly angry to see his brother. I mean, he just had this, emotional reset with his son, and you'd think maybe he'd be coming into this meeting a little bit more positive, but no, he was, I think, seeing the face of Destruction kind of flooded his memories again. It was like, okay, I'm angry again.
Yeah, God, it was such a good little introduction because what is the first thing that Dream says? He goes, sir. And Destruction goes, sir, just when they were dapper gentlemen, just like when they were dapper gentlemen. So I absolutely love that. And then, of course, a big hug for Delirium. And he's, oh, you've grown. Look at you. And they're adorable together. And then he looks up at Dream and he says, my brother, you too seem different. Perhaps you have grown as well.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
So this is, Destruction's explanation, really. He doesn't give an explanation, but this is the only thing he can give. So they go inside, they talk, finds out that, Destruction was really expecting them. Delirium kind of goes through like, hey, this was all my fault. Dream was the only sibling that would come with me. Please don't get mad at Dream. Also, they find out that, the scrying pool that was set up beforehand and mechanisms that were set up beforehand. And Dream is like, hey, these mechanisms, might they have harmed those who have helped us to find you? And Destruction says, I'm afraid so. There was nothing I could do once you started looking for me, not without resuming my function. So basically, in order to turn that off, he would have had to become Destruction again. And there's no way he was doing that. Unfortunately, he had to sacrifice some of his friends and, an old lover, because what he did, as we find out, was for love for humanity, and he cannot take up that mantle again. And I was a little surprised on this. Me and you talked about it. We said, did you think it was destruction. When he says trouble is coming, did you think he was the one killing people, or it was another entity? And we both, I think, said it. We thought it was another entity, but at the end of the day, destruction killed his best friend and his ex-lover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this really threw me off. And honestly, I think it works for his character. I mean, he's making two choices here. He's basically choosing his life as destruction, or he's choosing the lives of humans and humanity. And he clearly chooses humanity, which, I mean, it really is just a great tale. I mean, the show does a really good job of not meeting my expectations, but in like a very good way. I mean, again, we thought Destruction was going to be this nice guy. We didn't have these presumptions that he was responsible for killing all those people, but he ended up being responsible. But it's just kind of like that. It's just, what are the lives of these two immortals versus the weight of all of humanity? And it's just how Destruction views it. And he obviously views humanity's life as something very precious. And he's willing to go as far as to kill his friends and his lovers in order to protect that and preserve that seed, if you will. Just so great. I mean, and you can see it. And Dream absolutely had every right to be angry at that response, that he did what he did in the confession. But I think he makes a really good, I don't want to say case, because murder is murder and it's obviously not a good thing to do, but he does present a good side for his case of why he had to do it. And it's just again, this is a character we've just gotten introduced to this season. All these characters, a lot of these characters we're just getting introduced to in this season, but I personally feel like the show is doing a very good job of just establishing these characters, making them complicated while not overly complicated, because they do know that they're kind of like on this like timeline. But for something that they knew was going to have to be rushed into one season, I feel like they did a fantastic job of fleshing out these characters and making them super complex, even though we've only seen Destruction on screen for maybe at this point in time like 5 minutes, if that. It's like crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Like I said, it should be studied. It is. I'm right there with you. It's crazy how much I care about these characters for never really getting them on screen. Like Destruction and Barnabas's relationship is incredible, and I'm heartbroken at the end
When
of
they have
this.
to separate, it's again a relationship we've seen a total of 20 lines back and forth between both of them, and I get it. I totally understand the relationship.
It's incredible. So, back to Dream and Destruction's conversation. Dream is so mad that innocent people died, people that were, his friends, and Dream saying like, I can't believe these innocents died, these innocent mortal people, and Destruction just smiles. And I think it's because he is happy that Dream sees the mortals for who they are, because Destruction, I believe this is why Destruction left, because he loved the mortals and he hated being a part of it. So when Dream actually shows some sympathy and love towards them, Destruction just smiles. And he says, 300 years ago, you would have simply told me they were mortal and they would have died later, if not then. So you've changed, Dream. You have. And it was a great, I think it was more that was unsaid there, just the smile and the body language, than what was actually said. So it was so good. And Dream is kind of saying like, how do you justify leaving us, killing your friends, and abandoning your realm? And it seems like Destruction is getting mad, and it looks like he's about to explode, and the music is building to a climax. But then all of a sudden, he's just petting Barnabas's head like an emotional support animal, and then he's all good again. He's like, "Should we go outside?" So interesting.
And he shows them the I was going to say like Fortress of Solitude, but the gallery, that's what it's called, the gallery. And it shows that to them as well, that he doesn't hate them. He doesn't resent them. Like, he still obviously cares for them deeply enough to keep their gallery items. He has them all hanging up in respectful way. Like, I think Dream sees that, and he realizes that his brother didn't do this out of any grudge against them or anybody that he in particularly hated. It was just he hated it being destruction, but he still respects and loves his brothers and sisters always, and has this gallery to prove that still.
Yeah. And he sees his sigil and he's like, the sword, oh, can't have that falling in the wrong hands, I gotta take that. That's the only thing he takes. And the line before, he's like, come on, you guys can help me pack. It was just so good.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that he snags. He kind of goes into it more. And he says, like, yeah, my realm is still there. Things get created and destroyed. The only difference is no one is running it anymore. They can make their own destruction. It's not my responsibility and not my fault. So really, you can see destruction is very emotional when it comes to doing his duties, and he hates it. So he also says, can't have dad and mom showing up begging me to come back, can I? So that was like, do we know who that is?
Another lore sprinkle that, who knows? I feel like that's a big enough lore seed for them to have to pursue that, at least in these upcoming 6 episodes. That's not one that they can just like idly just brush under the rug.
I know. Even when Destruction says like can't have the sword falling into the wrong hands, I was like, is that foreshadowing? Like,
is it gonna fall in the wrong hands? Like,
oh my god, it's such a good way to tell a story. And at the same time, we're getting all this information, but it's still heartbreaking because it's still siblings saying goodbye. And Delirium's like, why don't you stay with me? I'll make you laugh and I'll do little dances. And he's like, no, I can't go with you. And she's like, if you go though, I'll be alone. And he was like, no, you're not. You'll be with Dream. And she's like, oh, but Dream has his bird, his librarian, and his dragon. Like things to keep him very busy. And Destruction's like, you know what? You gave me an idea. And he kneels down and asks Barnabas to go with Lady Delirium and walk beside her and protect, lead, and guide her. And what really killed me is Barnabas looks up and goes, "Can I go with you?"
Yeah, right.
Like, oh, no, he says,
how can you say no to that?
Yeah, you can't survive in the place I'm traveling to. And Barnabas says, I'll do what I can. It's just heartbreaking.
One, love that he presented Barnabas to Delirium. I think that was a really nice touch, but at the same time, I was also thinking of Delirium's place and how maybe it's not the cleanest. And I was like, I kind of also feel bad for Barnabas, who's going to be living in filth compared to this like super scenic villa that they were living at before.
Yeah. Well, as long as Barnabas isn't in the subway and he's in like the open field near the sundial, maybe that'll be better.
That's all we need.
Yeah. Man, a couple parting lines here. Okay, so Destruction's talking to Dream, and Dream's saying, we needed an oracle to find you, and so that's why I spoke to my son. And Destruction's like, you spoke to your son, like something that you've been putting off for how many hundreds of years just to find me? I suspect you have grown more than you know. And I just, oh God, it's so good. Then he gives the advice. Remember what I did. Remember that I left. Remember how hard it was for me to leave, but I did it out of love for humankind, for this world, and all others. And I know that you think I'm weak or selfish for leaving, and maybe I am, but in my experience, love is the only good reason to do anything. Crazy.
Boom, mic drop. Dream, I still think doesn't quite understand the words yet, but I'm obviously hopeful that he will one day truly understand the meaning of those words.
Yeah, he goes, my brother, there's no one like you. Hugs him. Dream doesn't hug him back. And he looks at Delirium and says, my sister, I loved seeing you. And then whispers, you're always my favorite. Which is just
great big brother move there to the upset sister.
It looks at Barnabas. It says, be good, look after her. And Barnabas says, I'll miss you. Oh my God. Barnabas saying that line too. And like you said, only having like 10 lines the whole movie. Why do I feel so much right now? It's so good. So Destruction's saying, I will go somewhere up there, up and out. Remember what I said, Dream, good luck. And then he turns his back turns what looks like smoke, and then all of a sudden lights, and then you see stars flickering, and he turns to a galaxy expanding across the sky, and it was a very beautiful exit.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I could see people be very upset at how this ended, that you could say, oh, this was all for naught. But I think Delirium sums it up very well in that it wasn't all for naught. A lot of bridges were mended in this whole journey, and it was foreseeable. I mean, Wanda herself 2 episodes ago said, was legitimately telling Dream and Delirium this exact situation, like, yes, I love my family. Would I go back home? Probably not. I'm my own person. So like it obviously directly 1-to-1 correlates with this scene here. So it was, if anything, predictable that he was going to leave. I think it's wonderful. I did not see this as like just a fruitless mission. I mean, Dream tied up the relationship with his sister, tied up the relationship with his son, and now we indirectly, because of that way that he ended with his son, we now have a plot point to continue on into the next 6 episodes. So really overall, I don't think a waste at all. This was like a beautiful little journey that we went on this season in order to find destruction. I mean, so much happened, and it was just honestly so good, every bit of it.
I totally agree. So that's a great point to call back to the conversation with Wanda. I didn't even really put that together, but that's exactly what it was. They almost and Dream has a line earlier where it was like, oh, I kind of knew he was never going to come back, but I hoped he would. So fantastic. And like you said, it wasn't all for naught. Dream says, I'm sorry we came all this way for nothing. And Delirium was like, what are you talking about? We don't have to wonder anymore about where he went, why he went, if he's ever coming back. Plus, you got advice and I got a doggy. So it all worked out.
Definitely, they got the closure, which is, if anything, more important, than bringing him home.
Ugh. And now the hard part, right? Because Dream owes his son a boon. So he goes back to see Orpheus. Orpheus is like, thank you for coming back. How's my uncle? And Dream's like, I don't know.
Not understanding quite yet.
Yeah. So, Orpheus comes back and he knows what he's going to be asked of. Orpheus says, it's strange. For many thousand years, I prayed for death. I prayed to all the gods for peace and relief and for an ending. But I never thought that you would be the one to grant it. Do you remember what you said to me? Your life is your own, your death likewise. Farewell, we shall not meet again. And Dream is like, do you know why I said those things? It's because I was scared. I was scared to live in a world without you in it. Orpheus is saying, like, I should have died long ago. Perhaps. I wish I'd listened to you and Auntie. I wish things had been otherwise. But I am ready. And Orpheus' song starts playing, a slower version on the piano, a softer rendition. And it took a bit for me not to cry even then, even on the second rewatch. But he slowly approaches Orpheus' head, says, my son. He kisses him on the forehead and then fulfills his son's last wish. We only see it in the shadow of the act, and then a bloody hand afterwards, and places the head back down and walks out with the sun shining in the background. And Dreams looks like he is lost, like he is in pain, like he's broken. And you hear wings fluttering gently.
Yeah, you see the shadow of wings also in the background, which I thought was just such a great touch to the conclusion of this little arc we got. I mean, beautiful, simply beautiful.
Tells Delirium, our journey is at an end. All debts are paid. Sister Barnabas, I will take my leave of you now. And Delirium says, thank you for coming with me. I don't think I could have done it all by myself. And she adds a little comedy where she goes, come on, doggy. We're going back to my place. It's very interesting. I think you'll like it. Unless maybe you don't. Which, like we were saying, he might not.
Yeah, he might not like it. But this was some great acting here from Dream. I mean, between the conversation with Lucien, not like really showing his full face to her, not to try and show her, I guess, the weakness that he's feeling, and to him actually breaking down, trying to scrub off the blood off his hands. Incredible. And I'll shout out to Dream too, because he was looking yoked. I mean, I know he's going through it, but he was looking pretty yoked in that tank top while he was trying to wash his hands off. I was pleasantly reminded that Dream was it makes sense for him to be yoked.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I know this is emotional, but they showed him in the mirror, and I was like, God damn, look at that tricep. It's
He's
crazy.
like with his like long like draping outfits, like it makes me think of him as like a tall, slender character and not like a muscular guy. So it's like, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. You're basically a god, so you should have muscles.
And, I'm interested to see Lucienne next episode because she knows exactly what happened because her last
Yeah.
responsibility was to disassemble the priesthood after they buried Orpheus's body. And she knows that he's broken and she wants to help, but nothing she can do. And yeah, when he goes and he sees the water turn red with the blood and he's frustrated that it won't come off and the tear drops and he slowly starts to weep. I was like, oh, that is just heart-wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
Final scene, crazy scene, crazy cliffhanger. It is the Kindly Ones, aka the Gray Sisters. And they're talking like, oh, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? And it's just one wrapping a ball of yarn, the threads of fate. And the oldest one is saying, "Are you done with that scarf yet?" And I don't know. I like this one. They ended up getting a fortune cookie. It is the prophecy and fortune that we know of. A king will forsake his kingdom. Life and death will clash and fray. The oldest battle will begin once more. And they're like, "Hey, we've had this before. What's going on?" And that's when the oldest one is like, "All right, here we go. I think that has gone on long enough." And the one woman is like, maybe it can go on a little bit longer. And she's like, nope, you're soft. You're much too soft. The Dream King killed his son. And the one girl's like, we asked him to. And he's like, he spilled family blood. It doesn't matter. And then one sister's like, all good things, eh? Yeah. Like, yeah, all good things must come to an end. And the oldest one picks up the shears and snips the thread, cuts it right away, and roll credits.
How can I not think of Disney's Hercules at this moment when it's just like these scissors won't cut and they're just like trying to snip it away? That's of course what came to my mind, but then also it's just like, holy shit, like the fates are just like people, they live in this like cozy little house, they're just chilling, like it's, I guess, just randomly they just get possessed and they're just like out here being all freaky and weird. So it was kind of funny seeing them just be like normal and not so like omnipotent, omnipotent. It's just like so weird.
Totally. I thought the same exact thing. I'm like, these are like almost seems like greater beings amongst great beings. But then they're by a fireplace and like, oh, give me a fortune cookie.
Like, are they just putting on a show? Like, what's the
Yeah.
play here? I'm so curious. But I thought that was a funny way to end the season while also just being like, we got a lot to get through in these next 6.
They were talking about the thread, and at first I'm trying to think, are they talking about Orpheus? Is the one lady trying to keep Orpheus alive, the middle one? And I'm like, oh
Is
my
that
God,
like
that would
they
be
are
terrible.
snipping like someone's life, right? Like that is supposed to be symbolic of someone just got killed right there, is what we're supposed to believe. Yeah. Okay,
But the oldest one does confirm, the Dream King killed his son. He spilled family blood. So it is confirmed.
Okay, so that it's supposed to be Orpheus's string. Okay.
No. Okay. Well, now I was certain that it wasn't. Now I'm thinking about it again. But I'm pretty sure she was referring to Dream String. And because Dream spilled family blood, he
Oh,
now
okay.
needs to
His
die.
fate is like fucked, basically, is what they're kind of saying.
Yes. And
Okay.
I went back and forth with it a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that is where it ended up. And now it's like, okay, people are coming to kill Dream. Like that's the
Yeah.
next half of the season. Where the hell is this gonna go? Is he gonna die? Is Dream gonna die? Like I have no idea.
God, I mean, that would suck. I'm gonna say no. I hope not. But this has been a pretty tragic tale so far, so I wouldn't be honestly surprised if it ends tragically.
And I would say I think it was episode 1 or episode 2 where Dream says, I've set up something in case
Yeah,
something happens
yeah.
to me, where the dreaming will continue and basically somebody
The
will take
baby still, whatever her name is, I forget.
just Lita Hippolyta.
Yeah, Hippolyta's child. So yeah. Oh man. I'm excited, man. It's been so good to be back into Sandman. Again, like I think when we were doing this weekly last year, or sorry, last year, 3 years
3 years
ago.
ago.
Yeah. It wasn't like hitting the way it did now, the way it is like kind of now. Maybe I wasn't appreciative. Maybe I was just too closed-minded at the time, but this show truly has turned into such a gem, and it's a shame that we only get 6 more episodes. They've set up so much lore, and it could have gone on for at least a couple more seasons, to say the least.
It's crazy how much I think about it. Even not watching it, I'm just laying in
There,
bed thinking of
yeah,
Orpheus and his song, and
hmm
amazing.
yeah. Can't wait to add that now. Hopefully, that gets released on Apple Music. So
It's not out yet. I've checked.
I hope so. I know it's only like 30, 45 seconds a minute, whatever, but come on, please the people. But any final thoughts, Paul, on episodes 1 to 6?
I was really excited when season 2 was announced and it was coming back. I am like triple as excited for the second half of this season. I think this was a phenomenal place to kind of separate the two halves and leave us, a few weeks to simmer on this cliffhanger. And I'm in awe of the writing, and I really, really hope, the ending sticks to landing.
I think I have confidence. The way these first 6 have gone, the pacing's been consistent. Yes, it's been fast, but it's been consistent, which is all that really matters at the end of the day. And if they stick to it, I do trust that they've nailed this. I mean, coming in, it's kind of like it's the magician's scenario all over again. It's just like they came into this final season, they knew what they had to go through, they knew that they had to work with, and I trust the writers at this point that they've nailed it. So really looking forward to that. Those episodes 7 to 12 will release on July 24th. Paul and I will be recording not too long after that, so be sure to subscribe and stick around. So if you want to hear those continuations of our coverages, that's going to be it for today's episode coverage of the Sandman. If you like what you heard, give Bingetown TV a follow on all of our socials on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Be sure to join our Discord, which is going to be linked in our episode description below. We've got a big growing community that loves talking with us, and we love talking with you guys, so definitely check that out. Lastly, we're also going to have you check out our newest Bingetown TV feeds. The first one we have is called The Core, which is breaking down all of the newest and hottest Apple TV shows. That just wrapped up coverage of Murder Bots, and they're getting into their coverage of Foundation. We have the Binge Empire podcast, which is what you're currently listening to. If you couldn't tell, if you're subscribed, you have the Sandman coverage going on right now, as well as Dexter. They just dropped an interview with, I believe her name was Julie. God, I was going to say.
Hold on, I got it. Julie Benz.
Julie Benz. I was going to say Julie Hertz, and I was like, that's not right. Or Julie Hertz, sorry.
Get Julie Hertz on the pod. I'm on.
Yeah.
I'm with that.
And then lastly, if you're looking for something that's covering reality TV, we have the Unreal Reality podcast that just finished Survivors and Traitors. So once again, this is the Binge Empire podcast, and thank you so much for listening.